Former NFL player Richard Sherman, most known for playing for the Seattle Seahawks, but he also played for the San Francisco 49ers, recently got his home robbed at gunpoint while his family was at home and he wasn't there. And clearly, you can see it's a bunch of Negroes that invaded his home by way of the saggy pants, damn near showing their ass cheeks. And you can just tell by the way these Negroes move. And anyway, he's the latest athlete to get robbed. And the reason why I highlight this particular story because I want to take you back to when the NFL and the NBA was doing their Black Lives Matter nonsense, acting like white racism and supremacy and oppression was the key issue that they were contending with in their lives, even though none of these Negroes live in majority black neighborhoods any longer because they know the reality. Now, I will give Richard Sherman slight credit. He was one of the few NFL players at the time that said, even though he supports Black Lives Matter, which he shouldn't, as a domestic terrorist Marxist organization, but he was one of the few to also mention that black on black crime needs to be addressed. And he even stood by saying all lives matter at one point. But again, the reason why he would even state acknowledging black on black crime or all lives matter because he was one of the few slightly honest one that recognized what the real problem is. Now, the fact that he didn't completely uh, discourage advocating for Black Lives Matter when we know Black Lives Matter don't matter to Negroes at all is because he still feels the need to appease the majority black population in America, which believes in this fairy tale narrative that racism is the big issue, even though they deal with the reality that is black on black crime. And even when you go outside of black on black crime, black on other people crime is the highest out of any other demographic. No one commits crimes interracially, against other groups of people like Negroes do. And again, it's why no demographic wants to live if they can afford it in a majority so-called black neighborhood. And this particular instance is just another example of that. Years ago, that Sean Taylor football player who played for the Washington Redskins, it was a Negro that came up to his home and shot and killed him. He was someone that got away from the community, but the community still found him and murdered him at his home. And then again, you have many of these instances like this, like what just happened to Richard Sherman's home, where these Negroes, knowing their schedules, invade their homes. And this could have ended up his family being taken away from him. And the culprits involved aren't Trump supporters, white supremacists, Klansmen, racists, the bullshit that all these idiot black athletes like to spout about. The culprits are what the reality is. It's other Negroes who are responsible, they say, for, a little over 50% of the violent crimes going on in this country. I'll say it's over 80%. I'm comfortable with saying over 80% of the crime that happens in this country is by the hand of Negroes. Because we see, especially with, the Democrat Party that enables this nonsense, that they will literally hide data because they have declared it racist. I remember not too long ago I saw a story where San Francisco made it illegal to publicize mugshots because it communicated racism. Why? Because most of the criminals were black or brown. But who does this benefit ultimately? It doesn't benefit anybody because when these Negroes go out to commit crimes, they don't examine to see, oh, well, these people are black, so I'm not going to commit crimes against my fellow blacks. Or these people are Democrat, and they vote for policies that enable my criminal behavior, so I'm not going to, you know, attack them. No, they victimize whoever. They don't care about their so-called race. They don't give two craps if they have a BLM sign in their front lawn. But again, this is a reality that you'll never be able to get through these demented Democrat voting Negroes' skulls or liberals in general. Now, when it comes to non-black Democrats, libtards, they'll just quietly engage in white flight or gentrify an area, and have a stronger police presence or private security around their residence. They'll never say or address why they are leaving or why they are gentrifying an area or why they have more present security. They'll just do it as the dishonest pieces of garbage that they are and won't address why they're doing it in the first place. It's because they are being aware of the potential of POC thugs disrupting their lives. And again, is why I can't stand liberals in general. They're very well aware of who and what ultimately is the crime problem in the United States. But they insist on continuing spewing narratives that enables this criminal behavior. And as a result, everybody suffers. But anyway, luckily for Richard Sherman, his wife was able to keep herself and his children safe. But again, what is he going to do as a man to confront the individuals and the kinds of people that are truly responsible for what's negative about America? Because it sure hell ain't no racists that are Trump supporters and vote Republican. No, it's a bunch of niggas. And other diverse groups, but mainly niggas. That his colleagues and others like him pretend like aren't the main issue. Even though, again, he did acknowledge that issue, but he still ultimately sided with the BLM narrative, which is an absolute fairy tale and clearly a money hustle for a bunch of black lesbians to make money off of, and for white liberals to exploit to push more soft on crime policies throughout the United States.